The story is inspired from a true incident which happened with Gwyneth Paltrow in LA. More about the incident after the story. My name is Julie, and I'm a pretty famous actress. Actually, my name isn't Julie, but I don't want to share my real name on YouTube. I want to get this story off my chest, but I can't let anyone know who I really am. So just think of me as Julie. I've been pretty lucky in my career. For the last 20 years, I've worked almost constantly. Not a day goes by when I'm not busy. My husband, let's call him Alan, is also an actor, but he's not quite as successful as I am. Unfortunately, having this level of fame comes with some drawbacks. I've had a stalker for the last 3 years. It started with very long fan letters. I usually have my assistant write back to my fans, but since he didn't include a return address, I couldn't. Then, slowly, his letters started to get threatening. I showed them to the police, of course. They promised to track him down, but he didn't use his real name in any of the letters. He just called himself Randy. He also sent the letters from different postal boxes each time, so finding him was almost impossible. Eventually, Randy started following me around. I first saw him outside my house, but I couldn't get a good look at him. Then I saw him outside my gym in my local supermarket. One day he even showed up at a filming location pretending to be a journalist. He ran off before anyone could catch him, but he left a present in my trailer. It was an animal heart in a pink box. I didn't feel safe anyway. It was affecting my ability to work. Alan and I decided that I'd take some time off from acting. For the first time in decades, I was refusing acting jobs and staying at home. Alan was such a big support through this time, and our marriage actually got stronger. That was literally the only good thing to come out of the whole experience. Months passed and the harassment continued. We added more security to our property, so I felt safer in my own home. But I was sort of turning into a recluse. Alan was still working, so my sisters stayed with me whenever he was gone. Then one day, the police were finally able to catch Randy on camera. They tracked down one of his letters to a postal box in Van Nuys, where a nearby security camera was able to catch his face. His real name was Bernie, and he had no criminal record. With that information, I was able to file a restraining order against him about a month before my birthday. I immediately felt better. Alan and I celebrated at home, and I told my agent that I was finally able to start working again. We planned a huge birthday celebration at my favorite beachside restaurant. I was so excited, but the day before my birthday, I found a small wrapped present inside my car. It was a diamond ring. I thought it was from Alan, but when I read the note, my heart sank. "No orders can stop me from being with you. Accept this or lose everything you have." I didn't know what to do. I called the police, but when they went to Bernie's house, it was cleared out. He was gone. Then I called Alan to tell him, and he suggested that we just cancel the party for my own well-being. I agreed. He said he'd hurry back home, but it would take him at least an hour. I decided to cancel my next job, too. I'd never felt more terrified. I was alone at the house, staring at that horrible ring, wondering how my stalker had managed to break into my car without getting caught. Then I noticed something different about the note. All my stalker's other letters were written in his own handwriting, but this note was written with letters cut out of magazines. Something seemed off. I don't know why, but I started searching around the house. That's when I noticed the crumpled papers hidden at the bottom of our trash. They were pages from magazines with some of the letters cut out. For a second, I thought that Bernie had somehow snuck into my house. But then I came to my senses. This letter wasn't from Bernie at all. It was from Alan. He was the only person who could have done it. But why? It didn't make any sense. Right after I made that discovery, Alan came back home. I quickly hid the trash so he wouldn't see that I was onto him. "Baby, you look terrified." He wrapped me in a tight hug and whispered that he was going to take care of me. It made my skin crawl. I pushed him away. "What's wrong, baby? I'm here now. We'll get through this together." He told me to calm down. He asked if he could see the ring. "I never told you there was a ring." On the phone, I'd said that the stalker had sent me another note, but I hadn't mentioned a ring specifically. All at once, the concerned look on his face disappeared. His expression was terrifyingly blank. "Oh." "You did it! Why, Alan?" "Just sit down, baby. Let me explain." I wasn't going to sit down. I didn't want to be in the same room as him. I ran into the bathroom and locked the door. He stood outside, pounding. "Julie, let me inside!" "Julie, you have to understand. The stalker was the best thing to happen to us. We were finally happy together, Julie, and now you want to give all that up? Go back to working all the time? I did what I thought was right." I was too scared to answer, confused too. My husband of 8 years had finally revealed his true colors, and I hated him. He slid the ring under the door. It sat in front of me on the bathroom tile. "Put it on and come out, now!" "No!" "Put it on. Don't you see how much I love you?" After searching through me, I grabbed the ring and swung the door open. He stared at me on the other side. With one swing, I jabbed the ring right into his neck and ran past him. I got in my car and drove to the police station. Afterwards, I filed for divorce. I never want to see him again. And by the way, I still had my party, and it was amazing. Gwyneth Paltrow testified in Los Angeles against Dante Michael Soyu, a 66-year-old accused stalker who previously targeted her in 2001, but was found not guilty by reason of insanity. Soyu is now charged with stalking her from 2009 to 2014, sending over 60 letters and packages, many referencing her dying for Christ. Despite his attorneys claiming the letters are not threats, Paltrow expressed fear for herself and her children. She said he had also sent her a cookbook, jewelry, and items of clothing. Soyu, previously committed to a mental facility, resumed his behavior after release. In 2000, Soyu sent explicit letters and packages and visited Paltrow's parents' home, leading to his first arrest. Prosecutors argue his actions pose a credible threat. If convicted, Soyu faces up to 3 years in prison. The story is inspired from a real-life incident wherein the famous social media influencer Brianna LaPaglia told the world about her scary relationship with Zach Bryan. More about the incident after the story. It was love at first sight, back when I first met John. At least, that's what I thought. We were both up-and-coming influencers who had been invited to an exclusive party in upstate New York. I had already met with some success and landed some major promotions, but this was an exciting opportunity to increase my status tenfold. John had also been invited to the party, another influencer who I had crossed paths with briefly online, though it was my first time meeting in person. We hit it off immediately. He was just as funny and charming as he portrayed himself online, and he seemed to reciprocate my interest. We kept bumping into each other at the party, sharing laughs and flirty smiles, until we could no longer deny that it was fate, and went home together at the end of the night. We met on and off a few more times before making it official. When we finally got together and made the announcement online, the whole internet went crazy. Millions of followers came in, and I found success like I only ever dreamed of. We became known as John and Ariana, one of the most famous social media influencer couples on the internet. Our individual content remained mostly the same, though our collaboration videos always got the most attention. Whether it was simply chatting, giving a brief preview into our life, or trying the latest trends. It really felt like the whole internet was rooting for us in our relationship. I really thought I'd found the one. The man I would spend the rest of my life with. Everything seemed to be perfect. until it wasn't. Once our honeymoon phase began to fade out, after those first 6 months, things started to change. John grew distant, emotionally and physically. Excuses were always on the tip of his tongue. Our content together grew sparse, and people began to notice. I was worried it would affect my views and likes, so I begged him to do another video with me just to appease our followers. Eventually he would agree, but he always made me feel guilty or needy for having to plead with him to do it, like he didn't really want to. I felt like our relationship had grown stale, like he had finally gotten bored of me. Yet as soon as I considered breaking up with him, he would change his tune and come crawling back, acting like he really did need me and that things would be better as long as we stuck together. Our relationship continued like this for the next few months, going from emotionally detached to emotionally dependent, hating being in the same room to hating being apart, and things only grew worse. The contrast between the hate and the love between us grew. One minute we were shouting abuse at each other, the next we were sobbing that we couldn't be apart. I knew I had gotten myself in a toxic loop, but I couldn't bring myself to leave him, no matter what. Almost a year into our relationship, we were invited to do an interview with another influencer. John was unenthused about it, but I told him we needed the exposure to keep our followers engaged, so he finally ended up agreeing and we went. That was our biggest mistake. John was in a sour mood from the get-go, and I was struggling to keep up an appearance of being in love with him when his very presence had begun to annoy me. The interview started off awkward and only got worse from there. John, tell me what you love the most about Ariana. The interviewer's voice was completely innocent, as if she also believed that our relationship was how we portrayed it online. John looked me in the face and sneered. Love? I don't love anything about her. His words sent a spark of shock and pain through me, which quickly turned to anger as he continued speaking. She is a whiny, bratty, needy child. Everything she puts online is a lie. Try living with her for a week and you'll soon go insane. I stood up so suddenly the chair rocked back behind me. You're no better. You're just a liar and a cheater. John stood up too, his face growing red with anger. How dare you? How dare you? He took a threatening step towards me, his whole body shaking in anger. I reflexively grabbed the chair behind me, holding it in front of me like a shield. The interviewer watched the whole exchange in shocked silence. I knew the camera was still rolling, but I didn't care. I couldn't believe the man I thought I loved would say something like that about me in public. When he saw me pick up the chair, he picked his up as well, a vein bulging in his forehead. Afraid he was going to attack me with it, I threw the plastic fold-up stool towards him with an angry cry. The chair snapped shut and skittered past him as he stepped to the side. All right, that's enough. Put the chair down before I call security. The interviewer finally interrupted. She's the one who threw her chair first, John argued, tossing the chair to the ground with a loud clatter. Because you're scaring me. It wouldn't be the first time you've hurt me. You lying! Security! After the interview, we were both escorted off the property. No longer an illusion about mine and John's toxic relationship, I immediately packed my bags and went to stay with one of my friends for a while. During this time, John and I both filed lawsuits against each other for the public display of threat. In the end, our lawsuits made it to court, where we were both deemed abusive. As a result, we were both ordered to pay a fine and attend counseling. Brianna LaPaglia recently opened up about her tumultuous relationship with Zach Bryan, alleging emotional abuse and infidelity. Speaking on the BFFs podcast, Brianna revealed that Zach love-bombed her, only to later isolate and emotionally break her down. She shared how he made her feel like everything was her fault and caused her to lose touch with herself and her loved ones. Describing the past year as the hardest of her life, Brianna also alleged that Zach offered her $12 million in a New York apartment in exchange for signing an NDA to remain silent about their relationship.
This story is inspired by the famous case of Winona Ryder. She was arrested for shoplifting. More about the case after this story. I had just woken up, still groggy and disoriented from a late-night shoot, when my phone began buzzing insistently on my nightstand. I picked it up and squinted at the bright screen. Headlines everywhere showed my face. Well, a face identical to mine, staring brazenly into a security camera. The caption read, "Famous actress shoplifts designer dress worth $10,000. I blinked in shock. The woman had my eyes, my cheekbones, even the same subtle scar on my eyebrow I got from a childhood bike accident. But I knew for a fact it wasn't me. I was in bed, in my home, hours away from that high-end boutique, yet the camera still showed a perfect replica of Ella Hart sauntering out of the shop as if she owned the place. As the initial wave of confusion and fear washed over me, my doorbell rang. My heart hammered in my chest. It was barely 7 in the morning. No friend or colleague would have shown up unannounced at this hour. Without thinking, I threw in a robe and rushed downstairs. I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the hallway mirror, eyes wide, anxious, and unsure of what laid ahead. I swung open the door. There stood Detective Amelia Grant, a stern-looking woman with dark hair pulled tight into a bun. Behind her hovered my manager and longtime friend, Vincent Green, both looking worried and irritated. "Ella Hart?" Detective Grant asked, holding up a badge. I could tell she was trying to mask her own surprise at seeing me in person. "I'm Detective Amelia Grant from LAPD. May we come in?" I gestured for them to enter, my hand trembling. As soon as we were in the living room, Vincent began pacing. "What's going on?" he demanded, trying to keep calm but failing. "I got a call early this morning from Fashion House's lawyer. They claim Emma stole a dress. That's impossible." Detective Grant cleared her throat. "Miss Hart, we have security footage of a woman who appears to be you walking out of Celeste Boutique with a gown valued at $10,000. The store manager identified you by name." "That's ridiculous," I said, my voice cracking. "I've never even visited Celeste Boutique on my own. I only go there for official brand events, and those are always arranged in advance. Check my schedule. I was at a film shoot last night until 2 a.m., and then I came home." Vincent chimed in. "She's telling the truth. I can vouch for her. We wrapped up the set around 2. I personally dropped Ella off at her house." Detective Grant studied me closely, her gaze lingering on my features, as if expecting to catch a hint of guilt or a slip of the tongue. "Miss Hart, do you have any idea of who this person might be? A relative? A twin?" I shook my head, dumbfounded. "I'm only a child. Both my parents passed away, and there was never any mention of a twin, and certainly not someone who looks exactly like me." The detective glanced at Vincent and then back at me. "Then we're dealing with someone who's gone with great lengths to impersonate you. I'll need to ask some more questions. Do you have any enemies? Fans that might be obsessed with you? Anyone who might want to tarnish your image?" My mind raced. Over the years, I dealt with my share of fanatics, but none had taken it this far. "I don't know. I mean, I've seen my share of strange letters and such, but no one stood out as a serious threat." The detective nodded. "All right. We need your official statement at the precinct. And Ella, I'm going to have to ask you to keep a low profile for a while. It's going to get messy if the press believes you're evading the issue." Vincent piped up. "We'll cooperate fully, Detective." "Thank you." After Detective Grant left, Vincent turned to me, exasperation plastered across his face. "Ella, we need to manage this carefully. The media will have a field day with this. We have to prove your innocence as soon as possible. The world is already painting you as a shoplifter." I sank into my couch, head swirling with dread. We have to find out who this woman is. We can't just sit around awaiting the police to do all the work. Vincent rubbed his temples. Let's make some calls. Let's see if we can find anything. Any rumor or whisper of a look-alike in the industry. The days that followed were a blur of accusations, paparazzi, and relentless media coverage. My face, her face, was everywhere. I had to cancel press events and promotional shoots. Detective Grant kept in touch, but there were no leads. I felt like I was living in a nightmare. My name was dragging through the mud while I was practically under house arrest. Then, a small breakthrough came. Vincent discovered a social media post from a minor stylist who claimed he'd worked for a secret lookalike project on a major brand. The post was quickly taken down, but not before Vincent took screenshots. It mentioned a woman named Althea Parks, an aspiring actress who had undergone multiple surgeries to replicate a famous actress's face. My face. Vincent showed me the screenshots. Ella, I think I found her. She's been under the radar, but from what I've heard, she's desperate for fame. Sounds like she might be trying to ride your coattails, or take you down. I stared at the photos of Althea in disbelief. It was chilling to see my own features mirrored in someone else. All right, we have to bring this to Detective Grant then. We arranged a meeting with the detective at the station. When we showed her the images and post, she whistled under her breath. God, this changes everything. She's practically your double. Then came a phone call from a private number. I answered, and a voice almost identical to mine whispered, "You have no idea what you've done." I froze, my pulse racing. "Althea, you stole everything that should have been mine," she hissed, bitterness dripping from every word. "I'm tired of waiting in the shadows. I'm taking what I deserve, Ella." Before I could respond, she hung up. For a moment, I just stood there, the phone still pressed to my ear. Detective Grant took the phone from me. She tried to trace the call, but it was a burner. A week later, the police tracked Althea to a rundown motel near the edge of town. When Detective Grant burst into the place with her team, they found Althea surrounded by magazine clippings of me, old dresses she'd stolen, and even a mock award trophy with my name etched onto it. She seemed to have created an entire shrine dedicated to my life and career. In the real-life incident, Winona Ryder reflected on the aftermath of her 2001 shoplifting arrest, admitting it caused her to check out of Hollywood. After stealing $5,500 worth of clothes from Saks Fifth Avenue, Ryder was convicted and sentenced to probation, fines, and community service. She moved to San Francisco and took a break from acting. When she returned, the cultural shift in industry's treatment of women in the 2000s shocked her. Ryder revealed feeling confused about the legal process, especially when told she could face prison time. She also expressed fear about the changing media environment.
My name is Jeff, and I'm 21 years old. I'm studying medicine in university, and I made some good friends there. One of them, George, is particularly wealthy, or better said, his family is. And so, a few months ago during summer, when we were enjoying our well-deserved vacations, George invited me and two more friends of ours, also students from med school, Ronald and Nicholas. In spite what you might be thinking, George didn't invite us to some kind of exotic beach paradise popular among tourists. In fact, we were going to spend 2 weeks in Scotland. Where? In a castle that George's father bought and also paid heavy bucks to have it restored. My father wants to turn the castle into a hotel. Lots of people are into those historical buildings, and some of them have tons of money to spend, George said when he invited us during dinner at his house. Great idea. No wonder your family is so wealthy and successful, I answered. Yep, you have to keep the money busy. Money is like a living creature. If you get it to reproduce, you will benefit from it, George said. Well, it's definitely something different. A Scottish castle, hey, I'm in, Ronald answered. Thanks for the invitation, George. I look forward to this. Plus, I'm not fond of high temperatures, so it'll be nice. Scotland is not so hot, not even during summer. Nicholas was excited, and so was I. In late August, we flew to Scotland. There, an employee belonging to George's father was waiting for us. He drove us to the castle. It was magnificent and huge, built on top of a hill like many medieval castles for protection and also to better see the surroundings. There were no neighbors nearby. The employee named Peter showed us a section of the castle that was turned into a garage. There, another car was available to us, so we could drive to the nearest town whenever we wanted. That was great. We weren't going to be completely isolated. In any case, you can see that the house is ready to welcome you. lots of food available in the kitchen, and quality aged Scottish whiskey as well. Also, several brands of beer, Peter said, as he gave us a tour around the castle. The castle looked great. It kept that old magic and decoration, but with lots of modern touches, like furniture and TV. There were lots of rooms with splendid view as I expected. I specifically loved one of the balconies. Wow, look at this. The view is absolutely breathtaking, I said. I'll say, this will be a great place to relax, talk, and have a few cold ones. My dad did good and tasteful business, George said, and I couldn't agree more. The first 2 days were great. We explored the natural surroundings and played soccer. During nights, we saw TV and also enjoyed in the balcony. But during the third day, I woke up and heard one of my friends screaming. I got out of the bed. George and Nicholas obviously heard the same noise because they woke up too, as I met them outside our bedrooms. We heard more screams. It was Ronald who was still in his bedroom. We went there as fast as we could. When we opened the door and switched on the lights, we saw a bizarre and bloody scenario. Ronald was pulling out his own hair. Please, make it stop. I can't control myself, and the voices in my head, he shouted. Holy sh**, what are you doing, man? It's like something took control of my body. Help me! I managed to grab Ronald's hands, which prevented him from pulling off more hair. But there was already a big and nasty bald spot on his head. I had to tie him down with one of the bed sheets because Ronald was now trying to hit me and grab me, always claiming that he wasn't in control of his own actions. We have to call the emergency, Nicholas shouted. No problem. I have the emergency's local number on my cell phone. Damn, I can't get a connection. I'm gonna go outside, said George. Hurry up, dude, I said to George as he ran downstairs. What the hell is happening to me? Ronald asked desperately. I don't know. You're having a psychotic episode. Doctors will know what to do. I hope, I answered. I'm going to get you a glass of water, said Nicholas. Minutes went by, and neither Nicholas or George returned. I went to see why. To make a phone call and to fetch a glass of water doesn't take that long. Of course, I assumed Nicholas was in the kitchen, and I was right. Nicholas, you too? I shouted as I saw my friend scratching his face aggressively. He was already bleeding, both his cheeks and his forehead. I can't help it! I went to get a rope, and fortunately there were a few of them, and I tied up Nicholas as well. It wasn't easy as he tried to resist. Like Ronald, Nicholas claimed that he wasn't controlling his movements. I threw a bucket of water on him, which gave me the opportunity to calm him down. He was now on the floor, hands and feet completely immobilized. It was one of those rare occasions in which someone in that situation was actually thankful. I was literally saving Nicholas and Ronald from themselves. Okay, this is starting to get weird. I'm going to check on George, I said to Nicholas. George was still outside. His eyes were shining. He looked and sounded different. George was holding his shaving razor in his hands. Hello. Your name is Jeff, right? I thought you'd never come. Saving the other idiots, right? But not for long, he said with a cold smile. Who are you? I asked, knowing for some reason that it couldn't be George. Smart, aren't you? I'm the ghost of this castle. I have lived here for centuries. No one has been here for a long time, and I've finally got the opportunity to find some hosts. I was a murderer before I was sentenced to death for my crimes, right in this castle. And now, I plan on keep doing what I do best. George said as he started chasing me. Fortunately, Ghost George was out of practice when it came to mundane and physical movements. On the other hand, my own adrenaline was helpful as I was fighting for my own life. I managed to kick the razor away from George's hand. I punched him in the face as hard as I could, and he lost his senses. Sorry, man, but it's for the best. Then, I put George, Nicholas, and Ronald in the car and drove away from that creepy castle as fast as I could. I only stopped at the airport. As the castle was left behind, my friends regained control of their movements, and George was himself again when he woke up. We took the first flight available back to the US. Later on, we did confirm the story that indeed, a murderer was hanged to death in that castle. George's father let go of the idea of opening the hotel. So for a long time, the castle will keep being an abandoned place, regardless who or what haunts those halls.